Backstage, Nick Turturro says he's been unable to find Pamela Anderson and therefore they've had to make some celebrity changes on the fly. So Vince McMahon's all like, oh, what do you mean celebrity changes? And he said, that's all I can say right now. We've got to sort it out. We've got to get it all sorted. So that's going to come next. The next thing that happens is Todd Pettengill with Diesel. Now, goodness me. So Todd Pettingill's with Diesel. I'll just say what he says. I won't talk about how he says it. So Diesel says that he knows how Michaels thinks and he knows his game plan. This is, Matt, for your benefit, one of mine and Tom's favourite ever promos in wrestling history. And Tom, do you want to talk about why?
So we went through a phase, it would have been probably around about 2008, I reckon. Me and Tinky decided to watch every WF pay-per-view in chronological order. So we started from WrestleMania 1, obviously, and we got all the way through to, I think it was the last In Your House of 95, I think.
Awesome.
And then
somewhere around then.
And the weird thing is about it is that we started watching it when we didn't live together. And then when we lived together, we just completely stopped watching it altogether. It's really weird. And in this promo is something that me and Tinky will always forever find amusing in the incredible tonal shift from Big Daddy Cool. Because he starts off the promo cool as ice, cool as a cucumber, cold as ice, and cool as a cucumber. He's cold as an ice-covered cucumber in this promo. And he's like, well, you know, Shawn Michaels, I know, I've been in the Sid role myself. And he goes, Big Daddy Cool came to do one thing, and let's hold on to this belt. And that hold on to this belt. And he just switches his tone straight away, and it's so weird, it's so crap. And I'll be honest, when I saw this happen, I couldn't believe my luck. I was so happy that I recorded it on my phone and I sent it to a few people, and I will send it to Tinky right now so we can put it on our Twitter page.
That is lovely stuff. That is lovely. Yeah, he's like suddenly it's almost like he remembers, I'm supposed to be really intense, and then he starts talking really, really intensely and shouting. Yeah, and it's just hilarious. It's a testament to how bad Diesel Kevin Nash was. In fairness, I will put this out there now. So this is again from the 35 years of WrestleMania book. It's under a section which is called Which is the Main Event, and it's talking about how, you know, there was conversation and debate backstage about which match should go on last, the world title match or LT's match with Bigelow. And Kevin Nash remembers Shawn wanted to go on last, and I feel the WWE Championship should always go on last because it's the title. But at the same time, I got the title that November, and I hadn't even had 300 matches in my career at that point. I was excited to be there and be in there having a match at WrestleMania with my friend. So I think this is again down to Kevin Nash's overall lack of experience. It's not natural, doesn't really know what he's doing, and this promo really backs that up to me.
The weird thing is that the reason why he has the tonal change is because he like stumbles over his words and then just flies into it, and it's awful, but it's so entertaining. I don't understand. The exception of being tall, he brings nothing to any wrestling.
Next up, Howard Finkel's in the ring. He introduces Jonathan Taylor Thomas as the special guest timekeeper and the special guest ring announcer as Nick Turturro from whatever show he's from.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas is the special guest timekeeper. I am struggling to find out what the point of that role is.
Oh, it's to ring the bell.
Well, they call it the bell ringer then.
Well, they also keep the time of the match, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't think I wouldn't trust an 11-year-old with that responsibility. Not in a match of this magnitude.
Then Shawn Michaels is introduced, and he comes out to the ring with Jenny McCarthy. So she's obviously replaced Pamela Anderson. And then Diesel comes out, and he waves back to the entrance way, and Pamela Anderson emerges. So Diesel has managed to win Pamela Anderson over, and she comes out with him instead of Shawn Michaels.
So for a start, Diesel can't even open the ropes properly to let the women in and out of the ring because he pulls down the middle rope, and Pamela Anderson is wearing a very tight, long dress, and she can barely get her leg over the middle rope. The other thing is as well is that he tries to play it so cool that it comes off really disinterested. There's no enthusiasm for him coming down to the ring, having supposedly got one over on his foe. Now, the one thing that really did strike out to me, and I don't know if you noticed this, Tinky, the Shawn Michaels, so he comes down to the ring and he walks around the ring and to escort Jenny McCarthy to her seat. And as they're walking past, there's one thing we haven't mentioned so far is that there's loads of photographers around the ring as well. And all the photographers scarper out of the way, apart from one guy who I assume isn't a photographer but works for WWE or WF in a specific role, and he's just led down next to the bottom of the ring, next to the apron, and he just stares directly into the camera as it walks past.
I haven't noticed this. I have to go back and watch it.
It's really weird. It's like he's been caught doing something. It's really funny.
So the match itself then is for the WWF title. It's a 20 and a half minute match, and it ends when basically what happens is that Shawn Michaels manages to hit the super kick, but just before Sid had a bit of a set to with the referee, and the referee had jumped down to have a go at him and sprained his ankle in the process. So Sid throws the referee back in the ring, but by the time he gets back in the ring, he only manages to count to 2. Then Sid exposes the turnbuckle with a knife, using a knife, tells Shawn Michaels to throw Diesel into it, but Diesel manages to avoid it, does a slingshot on Michaels, which Michaels hits the second buckle, just missing the exposed one. Diesel then hits a big boot and a jackknife to win the match. Tom, I'm assuming you're negative about this match.
I'll be honest, I was nearly in tears watching this. I hated it. I hated everything about this match so much. I hated Shawn Michaels' ridiculous overselling at the beginning. Like, he gets like a punch, I think, from Diesel, and then just flies all over the shop. Sid is the most over person in the match. He's there, Sid chants going throughout it. But this match goes on for 20 minutes, and it felt like I'd been watching it for all of my life. I absolutely despised this match. I got to the point where I was sat on my office chair in my bedroom, where my home office is, and I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall like a convict, like in a prison cell, because that was how bored I was. I just thought it was awful. There's not enough attention as given in wrestling history to the appalling nature of Diesel's hair dye job as well, because it's so unnaturally dark. But I've got a note in here saying, I'm so bored I might cry. And Diesel's gassed within like a minute of this match. After the match finished, and Diesel gets all the celebrities in, including Jenny McCarthy, who's turned on Shawn Michaels, and then he awkwardly tries to get them in and out of the ring by holding down the wrong rope.
Matt, what did you make of the match?
This match was one of those rare ones that put me to sleep. It was just really dull. God, I can't blame him for trying. It felt like they were like Shawn Michaels again, as he does. It kind of felt like he was, flying all over the place to try and make it entertaining, but I think it was overly long. It dragged again. Towards the start again, they were on about bloody Pamela Anderson, and it just felt that was the focal point and not the biggest prize, in their company, So it didn't work for me. Like I said, it was just that they definitely give it what they could, but I expect far better from Shawn Michaels in particular. At least later on I did anyway. But yeah, this wasn't good. I mean, the jackknife powerbomb towards the end of the match looked really nasty as well. Didn't like that one bit. Not a great match. Not what you want for a major match on a major pay-per-view. No.
Well, I disagree with both of you. I thought it was really good. It was a really good match. Best thing on the show easily. Match of the night, no problem at all. Absolutely swept it up. I thought Shawn's selling, whilst overselling, fit the occasion. Diesel's a big old guy. Shawn Michaels, let's be clear, wasn't a main event guy by this point. He was not a main eventer at the time that this match took place. He was just a notch below main event. He'd spent the whole of the previous year pretty much just being Diesel's corner guy. So, realistically, he was not a main event guy at this point, even though he'd won the Rumble. He'd won the Rumble when it was the least impressive Rumble to win. It was like basically the field was really thin, but also it was a competitor every minute. So just because he came in at number one still meant he was only in the match for 30 minutes. It wasn't even a particularly long stint. So even being number one didn't really put him over as this massive star in the same way as it had for Ric Flair when he was number 3 and won the Rumble, for example. But this match was really good, and I think the point of it was to get Diesel over as best they could, and Shawn Michaels did everything he could to get Diesel over here, made him look as good as he possibly could. I thought his overselling fit the occasion. I thought overall I was really, really pleased with it. There was some clear indications that the WWE fan base was not into Diesel. So not only, as you said, Tom, was there chants for Sid, but there was also a Let's Go Shawn chant, which was fairly audible at one point as well. So obviously in that respect, the promotion of Diesel had not really worked. In fairness, we talked... But let's be really fair. We talked a lot on WrestleMania 9 about the lack of opportunity Brett was given to mark himself out as a great champion. In fairness, I think Diesel suffers from the same thing. So Diesel won the belt on a non-recorded match at Madison Square Garden against Bob Backlund in 8 seconds, which was only shot from one angle, which was basically to the side of the ring. They obviously didn't want to subject anyone to that match because it would have been absolutely shockingly bad. But ultimately, that was how he was crowned champion. At the Rumble, he fights Brett. They go to a no finish. And then his next big match is against Shawn here, where he wins, but they give Shawn Michaels an out for losing. So even then, they don't really give him that big push. So in fairness to Diesel, he didn't get the most auspicious of pushes as a new champion, even though they centered so much of the promotion around the show and so much of the show around Diesel. Not only, of course, does he come out with Pamela Anderson and then celebrate with her at the end, but he's also credited with training Lawrence Taylor ahead of his match with Bam Bam Bigelow. They also have Lawrence Taylor and Diesel do a load of stuff in the promotional stuff before the show. But he just, in terms of legitimate, important victories, he just wasn't being given them by this point. But I think the match is pretty decent. I think that he's not my MVP, but Shawn Michaels is one of the 2 or 3 people that I specifically want to credit with this not being an absolute car crash of a show, because I think this match saves it somewhat, at least in my eyes anyway. After the match, Jim Ross tries to get a word with Shawn Michaels. Sid says that Michaels is not finished with Diesel. Diesel celebrates in the ring with Pamela Anderson, Jenny McCarthy, Nick Turturro, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Then Todd Pettingill's backstage with Michaels and Sid again. Michaels is frustrated and says he should be champion, but they show the footage of Michaels super kicking Diesel and having him covered, but no referee being there to make the count. HBK says he wants another shot. He told everyone he was the best, and tonight he proved it.
I like the fact that Sid kind of Psycho Sid, the most unhinged wrestler, of all time, who we've praised many times on this podcast for not for any of his wrestling, but for the fact that he's a great character who's fully into it. So it's one of the most sensible things I've ever heard. Where he's like, it was a disgrace. There should be more referees at ringside to make sure cheating doesn't happen. And I was like, you know what? I'm with you on that, Sid. That's a bloody good point. From someone who's so mental, you've come out with a cracking, some real sense there. Well done, Sid.
Except for the fact that it renders his role completely obsolete. Because
exactly.
He's the one running the interference. So this is obviously quite interesting because the following night, the Raw on the following night is the first, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is the first Raw after WrestleMania that actually feels like a Raw after WrestleMania. So the Raw after WrestleMania 11 is a night where Sid turns on Shawn Michaels and Shawn Michaels becomes a babyface. Shawn Michaels fires Sid for the mistake he made, and then Sid attacks him. Diesel runs out to make the save. It's also the night where Alundra Blaze loses her women's title she wins the title, back from Bull Nakano, but then gets attacked by her next kind of foe. Bear in mind, Raw was only 45 minutes long at the time, so to have 2 major angles at a time when you just didn't get angles at all, really, in general, it really stood out as the first Raw after WrestleMania where things genuinely happened. I remember them even doing a 2 or 3 page spread in WWF magazine about it, because it was just seen as such a big episode of Raw.
Yeah.
But what it did mean is that you already had Brett, Lex, David Boy Smith, Undertaker, and Diesel as babyfaces. Now you've got Shawn Michaels as well. There's literally no heels in the main sort of main event, if you like, of the company, with the exception now of Sid, who's basically placed as the main heel going forward after this show.
That would explain why Mabel inexplicably gets pushed to the main event there. Why Bret Hart gets into a feud with a pirate over his jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no one for them to face. There's no heels. There's no major heels.